Good morning. This is the October 9th, 2025 meeting of the Budget, Capital, and Personnel Committee of Tompkins County. In chambers, we have legislators Shurtleff, Brown, and Black, and me, Michael Lane, and we are expecting two others, Legislator Dawson and Legislator Pillar, and we expect them to be here in a little while. Changes to the agenda. We need to add a resolution at the request of administration, reversal of the 2025 expanded budget committee action to reserve contingent fund allocations for gadabout, geothermal, and GIS employee positions. And we'll add that into the resolutions. I think that's going to be explained to us by administration. We'll do that right after the county administrator's report.
Mike, do we have those resolutions on our desk?
I thought so.
Oh, sorry. Thank you.
Legislator Pillar has arrived. Are there any other changes to the agenda? Veronica, we just added that resolution in front of you, and they'll be explained by administration. We have some public comment this morning. Anybody on Zoom? Okay, so we have 3 in chambers, and we'll start with, I don't think any of them need to have us review our rules, but because I think they've all spoken before. So let's go to Amanda Kirch-Gessner.
Good morning. I've received some community feedback to my comments on Tuesday night. People really keyed into the fact when I said a recession was coming. They're like, it was great that you said that, but you need to tell them it's going to be a depression, likely worse than the one we saw 100 years ago. And I think that it merits consideration, pausing, breaking ground on the COG. I think it would be a much better use of resources to re-outfit the 2 existing buildings that you already own to fill the office space needs that the county has. And I really want to emphasize that as we approach this year's budget making, we really key into shoring up any resources that help tighten up the relationship between the Sheriff's Department, probation, and OAR. OAR was really displaced during COVID, and we need to make sure that this public safety net is well established. And something I identified as a crucial absence after last year's Code Blue experience were county personnel at mental health that were social workers that managed the most extreme mental health cases. I think that this would be a very important position to reestablish because it is diversionary. It outfits the individuals with the highest mental health needs in our community with social workers who are deeply invested in making sure that those individuals remain stable. It also frees up individuals who work at Adult Protective Services to actually focus on investigating claims of abuse against our seniors and vulnerable persons. I understand that asking for these resources or asking you to help reallocate these resources is a big ask. I do deeply encourage you to look at the bottom lines and look at pre-2020 numbers of like mental health interactions with law enforcement and post. I think that will be very illuminating. And then additionally, I think having these social workers at mental health will help expand the county's care team programs and perhaps create a more solvent training ground to actually help social workers better aid law enforcement in responding to mental health crisis. I know that our sheriff's department is getting statewide accolades for this program. I know the IPD has introduced it. It seems like creating a really tight-knit community approach of having well-trained social workers creates a natural training and recruiting ground to help expand those programs further. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Peggy Coleman from the Chamber.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. It's nice to see everybody. I am here to talk about the discussion about opening up the Tompkins County room tax law and adding an additional 1%. I just want to share a little bit of what we are experiencing in the tourism industry in Tompkins County right now. Visitation for the first 9 months of the year is down 19%. Our international visitation is down 51%. Most of that includes our Canadian visitors, who are our top international visitors. They are down 74% year over year. This is peak leaf peeping season. As you arrived to work, however your mode, you notice, it's crush at the wineries, it's leaf peeping season, and we are going to be losing a lot of that visitation because of the current economic and political situation that's happening in our country. I also want to just share a little bit of information as far as our neighbors. I know that right now, Tompkins County room tax is 5%. However, the city of Ithaca has an additional 5%. The majority of our hotel inventory is in the city limits. So that means the reality is we are 10% when it comes to occupancy tax. So Cayuga County is 5%, Cortland County is 5%, Tioga County and Schuyler County and Chemung County are all 4%. So when we're competing for leisure business, we are 6% higher in taxes. I know a lot of our domestic travelers, Shauna, you brought it up with your hockey travels. You don't pay attention to the taxes. However, there is a requirement for posting what the total price would be, and so that jumps us higher. So that creates an unfair advantage to begin with. As far as our group business for meetings and conferences, and I'm not just talking about business that can go into the conference center, I'm talking about business that currently are individual hotels, our campus facilities, our privately owned, more rural facilities. Our competitive destinations in New York State are Albany, Saratoga, Corning, Binghamton, and Syracuse. That's who, if we don't book the business, that's who we're losing it to. Their taxes, Albany is 6.5%, Saratoga is 3%. They are our top competitor. So Saratoga's 3%, Tompkins currently is 10%, and you're discussing possibly going to 11%. Steuben County, where Corning is located, is 4%. Broome County is 5%, and Onondaga County is 7%. So I just really urge you right now, our businesses are struggling. I have a number of our nonprofits and our for-profit businesses reaching out to me from the chamber side saying, you know what, the economy is really tough right now. Can you talk with us about working with us on our dues? Is there any way that you can support us to help get us more business? I just urge you, I understand we want to support the airport. Believe me, I am probably the third biggest champion of our airport. But opening up the room tax legislation and adding another %, this is not the time, and it is not going to help our economy. It is only going to hurt us. Thank you.
Peggy, could I ask one question? Do you know if the city of Cortland has an occupancy tax?
I don't
Hotel
believe
tax?
the city has a separate tax, but I can double check that for you, Mike.
Well, it'd be interesting to know.
Yeah, I believe the total in Cortland County is that 7%. So if there's a separate one for the city, it would be included in that 7, but I'll check that.
Thanks. We have another speaker, Irene Weiser.
Good morning, all. Long time no see.
Good morning.
So I'm here to say a few things. First of all, yesterday, I think some of you, probably most of you, were aware that was the NYSEG rate case public hearing, and I just wanted to report how those went. We had 138, I believe, people that showed up overall between the 1 o'clock and the 6 o'clock sessions, and nearly, oh God, I'm going to forget the numbers now. I think it was 47 people that spoke. It was just really powerful. It's really eye-opening to hear just a whole parade of people talk about the ways that our utility is not serving them well. So I just wanted to, and honestly, just how incredible the comments were from people who came. It wasn't just, don't raise our rates. It was really substantive stuff, very powerfully articulated. So I'm sorry that that's what gets our community out, but I'm really proud of how our community showed up. Shifting gears, I want to just thank all of you for the work on the budget. I think you know that I've been to almost all of your meetings. Your stamina alone amazes me. I'm going to have to polish up on that, I guess. But really, the discussions have been thoughtful and collaborative and tough. And you guys have you've made me proud, and I feel like there's big boots to fill. Because you guys have really been thoughtful on this and figuring out that balance of protecting our community and the people who are most vulnerable and keeping it down on the costs for everybody is an enormous challenge, and I think it was just really well done. And I know you're not there yet. And the third thing I'm going to talk about is something that I just want to put on people's radar. I don't know that it needs to be any kind of particular budget thing. But as you know, some years back, Lee and I worked together on the Emergency Medical Services Task Force. And I just wanted to make sure that it's on people's radar that the Medicaid cuts that I know we're all aware of are also going to hit ambulance transport. And our service providers for ambulance depend on those monies to keep their businesses going, or nonprofits. And so I just want to have it on people's radar that, it may need to be another place that we step up in the coming years to be able to support ambulance service and transport if Medicaid isn't doing that anymore. It's a real essential service. So, I could go on. I guess there is one other thing. Speaking of emergency services, and this again came up when Lee and I worked together on the Emergency Services Task Force years ago. And I also have direct experience as having been a veterinarian who worked in an emergency medicine clinic. It's hard work. It's not just, physical and long hours and whatever. It's emotionally. The only thing I have to compare it to, and I thank goodness that I have not ever worked with a person who's been damaged in the ways that I've seen animals damaged. It's war zone stuff, folks. It is war zone stuff to come upon the kinds of things that you see of suicides and car accidents and pedestrian vehicle incidents. It's the stuff of nightmares, and I have so much respect for the service providers who provide those services, and I know Shauna has talked about this also, that, actually in my graduate work at Cornell, I studied burnout in medical and healthcare professionals, and what I learned is it's the people who care the most who have the most problems. They're also the people we want to keep. So I just want to put back into everybody's mind. Maybe you guys handled this last night when I wasn't here, but I know before it was a 7-7 tie vote as to whether or not to provide the peer support advocacy for emergency services personnel. So I'm just going to make a personal plea to, if that hasn't been reconsidered and supported, please do. That's it. Thanks.
Thanks, Irene, and thanks for the update on the NYSEG hearing particularly. Can we take the minute? I don't think there's anybody else, is there, Taylor? Okay. Take the minutes of September 11th, please. Moved by Randy, seconded by Veronica. Discussion? Those in favor? Any opposed? Unanimous. For my report, I'm simply going to say that we've all been here for the EBC meetings, and the EBC meetings concluded last night with a proposed resolution that will be taken up by the full legislature, indicating what amendments had been made and approved to the administrator's proposed budget. And we're going to have a public hearing on that, and there could be more adjustments, but at this point, I think we're just over the tax cap. Is that right? I think it was
very small. Maybe over, yes.
Just slightly. The tax levy increase that we sent to public hearing is read the right
3.31%.
resolution here. 3.31%. So.
Mike, thank you for shepherding that process.
I'm sorry?
Mike, I want to thank you for shepherding that process.
Oh, well, you're
covered a lot of ground over
welcome. I got
many,
kind of
many
confused
nights.
toward the end. It's been long nights we've had.
Mike, can I add a comment to that?
Sure.
I do want to commend you that was a very long process. It was a very hard task for Corsa and his staff. We kind of gave you the unachievable at the beginning, and I think, the fact that you were here for 4 months and you had to dive into this budget and kind of pick out what you thought our county priorities were going to be, it was a no-win for you, quite honestly, coming out of the gate. So I thank you and your staff. You all did a really stellar job. And, my colleagues, for as much as we disagree, last night was truly probably a miracle.
I should point out, and a good point, the resolution was adopted unanimously last night.
Mm-hmm. I did want to let my colleagues know that throughout the debates, one of the amendments that I brought forward pretty early on was the peer support coordinator that I still think is really important in our community. I've since heard back from some of our employees that really were disappointed that we didn't pass that. I think it failed by 1 vote at the tune of 123,809. So I will bring that back. Not sure how you want that to happen, Mike, in future meetings, if we're going to do it in Tuesday's meeting or.
It could be, but what we're going to send to hearing will be what we adopted last night. So probably the time to do it would be when that comes to the legislature for adoption.
Okay.
It's your choice, but
Okay.
I think that's probably the better way of doing it, because otherwise we're going to be having a public hearing on something that has been changed possibly, and I don't think we want to do that.
Or it might be helpful for us to have all the numbers in and then people to weigh in.
Yeah. There's nothing. I don't think there'd be anything wrong with starting another list and putting that on the list.
Okay.
I'm sure Norma will be thrilled about that.
No, I was getting ready to raise my hand because I think that might be a good way to just kind of start a clean list of anything that needs to either come back or anything that's new, and then folks can be apprised of what's coming. Yeah.
So would we do that with each legislature meeting leading up until the vote, or is there going to be a special meeting, or?
You can make those amendments at any point.
You can make them, but I just think normally what we do is we have the public hearing and then we have it to the legislature, and at that point, any additional amendments are made at that point.
Okay.
Veronica.
So now I'm more confused. We have the public hearing we set for October 28.
Right.
Today is October, less than that. We have a legislature hearing on we have a regular legislature meeting, full legislature on October 21st.
Right.
Is the 2026 budget in any sense an agenda item on that?
No.
No.
No, we will have the adoption on the first meeting in November, right?
So to be clear, I am going to ask for a second opinion from Katrina, I guess.
The resolution that you adopted at the end of the meeting last night will go on the agenda for the 21st. And to adopt the tentative budget, we'll have a public hearing on the 28th, and then we will adopt the budget the second meeting in November.
Okay.
And that's, so all amendments will need to be made prior to that meeting, or prior
Great,
to
thank
the
you.
adoption at that meeting.
Yeah. And that's because last night, all legislators were present, but technically that was a committee.
That was a committee, that was not.
Approved a resolution, so that still has to go to the full legislature
Yes.
on October 21st.
What we adopted will go to the full legislature at
Yes.
that point.
Okay, so at that meeting, would that be an appropriate time to bring further amendments? I know we've been through a very long process. I echo everyone commending you, Mike, and you, Corsa, and Norma, and everyone for shepherding us through. But I think, like Shauna said, there's maybe things people want to bring back. I think there's a lot of, new information and questions and updating going on through this truly just 1 week that we had all these voting meetings. And I know there's a few potential things still outstanding that weren't got to. So would October 21st be an appropriate time?
You can do that at that point, but if you're going to do something now that we finished EBC, please get it on this list so that we aren't being surprised as a group.
Totally,
Randy?
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, procedural question. What list exactly, and how is the content of the list going to be communicated to who and when?
Norma?
You can throw in a where and why if you want.
I don't want to do that. I can send out, we did this once before. I kind of recreated that form, sent it out again, and we'll just use a fresh form, and you can submit it that way. Or you can text me, as Sean and I are texting buddies this time of year, and I will put it in for you. But yeah, I think we should just handle it that way, and that way we keep everything kind of standard and clean.
Randy and then Deborah.
I would like to propose and suggest that anybody that has anything they want to add should do it no later, should be soon and no later than the 21st. That was my thought.
Well, I think that's a good suggestion, but I don't think we can hold everybody to that. If they want to do it when we try to actually adopt it in November, they can amend it right up to that point.
Okay.
Deborah?
Yeah. I want to remind everybody that at one point in this process, we were looking at a potential tax levy increase of 7.7%. It was really, really difficult to get that thing down below 4%, which many of you said was your upper limit. And now that we've got it down to 3.31%, y'all want to start hanging more stuff on. Please, I know that we all want to support so many worthwhile initiatives and programs, and it's been frustrating to know that we can't do that. But please, please do not take this 3.31% as license or an invitation to start spending more money. We are headed into a dumpster fire in terms of the economy and how much worse federal policy could make that. Please, please be mindful that we cannot support everything, no matter how worthy it is. Thank you.
Veronica?
Speaking for myself, anything I might have wanted to add, I was totally happy to add on top of a higher tax levy. I know that might not fly. So there's that. I appreciate the work done to lower it. And in terms of going into the recession and disaster coming from the federal government, yes, it will hurt our county as an organization, and also it will hurt our residents and our community, who then are gonna come to us seeking services, and it will be a little silly if we say, oh, well, yeah, we used to be able to do that, but we don't, now that you need it more, we don't anymore. Now, it's a trade-off. There's pressures in both directions, but I don't think it's like more fiscal pressure means we need to lower our budget necessarily. I think it's more complicated than that.
Deborah?
Try to remember, when you get on an airplane and they give you the instructions and they say, if the oxygen mask comes down, put yours on first so that you can help the child or the elderly person or the differently abled person next to you put their mask on. We have to walk a tightrope between keeping ourselves in a position where going forward 2 or 3 years, we can continue to help. If we hamstring ourselves now, we're not going to be able to do anything for people in a year or two. So that's the tightrope we walk.
Go ahead. Let's not do too much back and forth here, but go ahead.
Isn't cutting our positions and squeezing our staff and keeping the tax levy artificially low hamstringing ourselves?
You won't pass a budget if you go much over 4%.
Okay. On the resolution, Ann Corman talked to me last night, and I promised I would bring it up. In our standard resolution that we adopted, we always talk about the effect on a residential property, a medium-priced home. And she's been advocating to have the effect on the commercial tax rate also mentioned in the resolution. And I believe she did bring it up at GO. And I think that Jay Franklin said that that was possible to calculate. So I wondered if we could ask him for that, perhaps, and maybe that could be added as an amendment on the floor. I think it would make sense. Anybody have any objection to that?
How do you figure out, though, what a median commercial
I don't know,
property
but
is? That's the trick.
I think we need to go back to Jay, and if it can't be done, he can tell us that.
And whether we've given any abatements on those properties. I'm joking.
Veronica?
I think it's a good idea, and if no one can figure out what a median commercial property is, because I don't know, I still think it would be cool to have an example described however it needs to be described to communicate something.
Or maybe we don't look for the median, we just say what the change in the commercial rate is.
Yeah.
Randy?
I think that attempt makes sense. I heard on your radio, by the way, you were great. So.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. And I understood what was being said, so that's most important. I think it'd be helpful for Jay, if we could ask him, to show us how, even though we are not increasing assessments, many assessments did increase. Because of property changes, and if a new house sold, then that's what the new assessment became, and all those kinds of things. But also the commercial real estate, and that because of the tax abatements that are happening, every year it goes up a little bit, in theory, on those abatements. It'd be nice to understand what the true assessed value ended up being compared to last year, and that would obviously affect the tax rate, correct? So would we have that data? So I'd like to see that.
Joanna?
Yeah, not to pick on assessment today, but I was wondering as well, I think we added 2 positions to that department last year. And I guess I'm wondering, since we're freezing assessments for the next 2 years or so, do they actually, and maybe this is a question for Corsa to follow up with assessment, do they actually need the increase in 2 positions if they're not going house to house looking at every single property every year?
I think I would check in with Jay.
Because that was a lot of money, and that was a big step for us to bring on those 2 new positions.
I believe we brought somebody who was retired back to assist us with the data data work to get munis up and running. So it was just for that specific task and the experience that individual retired with. So I don't know the additional position, but something that we will sit with Jay and provide you update on.
Thank you.
I think Jay did talk about the heavy load that would be involved in the conversion to the new software over the next couple of years, and the transition period they've got to go through to get where he hopes. But in the longer term, I think the investment in the systems that they're talking about may alleviate some of that pressure on the staff. That's the hope.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to add also is that they are not completely freezing assessment. They are not doing the county-wide door-to-door, but various issues that comes up, separation, new parcel creation, new significant work being done, new transaction. They're still going to do some degree of assessment on those ones. So there is still going to be some work, but not the county-wide process that they engage in every year.
Randy?
We actually got an email from Jay a month ago or so. Probably got lost in a shuffle of the hundreds of emails that we've gotten. I've lost track. One day I got 50-some emails. Like, it's been a lot, right? But he did say in that he felt that once this process was done, that they could look at reducing staff because they'd be more efficient. And that was in that email.
Okay. Of course, you said you're going to be talking with Jay. Do you want to ask him about the commercial rate too?
Yes.
Thank you.
I've sent it to him. He's working on it.
Oh. See how fast our administrative staff and our administrator are? They're just pretty quick. Let's go to Workforce Diversity and Inclusion Committee update. Veronica Pillar.
Yes, we met a couple weeks ago. Whatever I said at Tuesday still stands, and heard, I guess among other things, heard a bit of update on sort of the landscape of choice of equity indicators among departments. And then since then, there's been more presented to GO. We heard from the county clerk's department about their equity indicator, and we are going to continue having short presentations from departments about the equity indicators they've chosen and why, and like what the context from them. Not, this is all new this year, so not necessarily with brand new data, but it should be interesting. I don't have a schedule of those presentations yet confirmed, but well, I guess we'll have had some by the next time BCP meets. Also want to highlight that all 3 remaining WDIC meetings this year are off of their regular schedule. Usually it's 4th Wednesday, but we've got conference holiday. No one wants to meet the day before Thanksgiving. Or the day before Christmas. So please see the meeting portal for the updated schedule. And then specifically, our next meeting is October 29th. also a Wednesday, 3 p.m., but a week later, it is postponed to not sit right on top of the GARE convening, which, by the way, you can still sign up.
Questions or comments for Veronica? Thank you for the report. Let's go to Corsa for our county administrator report.
Thank you. Just want to start by saying thank you all for the budget process. And Shauna, it wasn't a loss. I think it was a big win. I said to someone that I went through 4 budget cycles somewhere with 1 public comment and one budget process with 47 public comments, so it's exciting.
Welcome to Tompkins County.
It's not over.
Yeah,
You're not done.
yes. So I think it was great, very good experience for me, and we here to serve. So I'm excited that we could stay up to midnight 2 days ago to do things. So
See the sunrise together?
We noticed you peeled out of here pretty fast last night.
I didn't want to get locked out, so I was trying to get in.
The moon was still up when we came out this morning.
Yes, so thank you all. I think it was good exercise, and it gave us a guide to those new ones coming in as well next year, how the process is done. And we all work together. I'm looking forward to it and see how we can improve the processes and make it more effective and efficient. There were some few lapses here and there, and I think you all help us to be able to see it. So very appreciative of that process. Just a quick update. Based on the report from the committee set up to work with HR in terms of interviewing the highway director recommended to us, Nick Ensign. We offered the position to him. He accepted the position. So officially, he is our new highway director, and I welcome him fully to the team. He's been an interim, and I think we are really excited to have him accept the position and carry on the mantle that the department has been known for doing a really good job. I would say, in my experience, he's one of the I think he's the only person that, after vacancy, significant amount of public expressed interest in continue to work with him and provide him support. Most of them he did not solicit. I think that's a good testament to who he is and the way he handled himself, and very excited that he's still with us.
That's good news. Glad to hear it, that we've got the position filled.
Thank you. I'm working with HR to get a senior position and also Human Rights Office position posted. We are hoping that we can get a senior posted before the end of this week. So we are on call to do those things as well. Being the budget process, I have been having conversation with public transportation, Frank. We have about 14 pending contracts, grants, some of them 95%, some of them 100% that are pending, is not being done on various projects. So we continue to engage with him to see how we can get those projects moving. At the end of the day, if those projects are not done, they will fall on the county for us to find funding to do those essential work. So we'll be providing you an update as we engage and try to identify why there are delays in some of those projects and what we can do to get them moving before federal shift and clawback of some of those funding. So, yes.
Can you give us an example of what kind of projects those are?
I mean,
are these TCAT Gadabout projects, or are they?
Majority of them are TCAT Gadabout projects. So we'll be meeting with you and the team to figure out the process to get this moving very quickly.
Thank you. That's concerning.
Yes. The other update I have, budget process, we're doing well. I welcome, I believe we have a resolution or so that.
Okay, you ready to go to that? That's
yes.
The one we added, the reversal of the 2025 expanded budget committee action to reverse contingent fund allocations for Gadabout, geothermal, and GIS employee positions. Someone want to put that on the table? Deborah moves it, Veronica seconds it.
So these are things we put in the 2025 budget back in 2024?
Yes.
Okay.
Norma, I'll invite Norma to talk about this.
I think Norma's going to talk to us about this.
Yes.
And Jay let us know that the median commercial value is $470,000, but it's subject to change due to the higher ticket commercial properties. With smaller number of commercial properties, it's kind of a moving target, but that's the median value. So our fantastic assessment director is on it. So the resolution we're talking about, that is, we had during the 2025 budget deliberations, I'm sure many of you remember, but if you don't, there were 3 amendments that were made to allocate portions of the contingent fund for specific projects. That was a gadabout, that was geothermal, or green initiatives, and there was a position, there was funding set aside for a GIS position. I've checked with the ITS department. They have no intention of coming back to request those funds. And at this point in the year, it seems that it would be a good time to release the funds back into the contingent fund rather than going back and dipping into the fund balance to accommodate the next 3 contingent fund requests that you have in your agenda packet today.
So is it geothermal or geothermal?
This was thrown together in about 15 minutes. So it's geothermal, and we will fix it before it makes it to.
All right, so in the title, we want to make sure that's fixed. And
That was an earmark, I believe, for the Department of Emergency Response
That's correct.
building that Ann had forwarded last fall in hopes that we could get that project off the ground, and it wasn't able to go anywhere.
Other discussion about this?
This is all because they were contingent funds. These were one-time, I would assume, one-time designations that we may or may not have wanted to use, correct?
Yes.
That's right.
Well, that's great. That's like $429,000.
Yeah, we want to put that back.
Randy?
I just want to say thanks for being proactive. And I think it's always good to continue to clean up our balance sheets any way we can, and adding money back into contingent funds is even better. So,
We're ready to vote? Those in favor? Any opposed? That's unanimous.
That's our report.
I want to go back to this commercial thing. What was that figure that Jay gave us? The median commercial?
Yeah.
Subject to change, I know.
Subject to, yes, it's a moving target, but the median commercial value is $470,000 for 2025, and it was $460,000 for 2024. And I have not run any scenarios on what that means to the, I can do that.
Can you work with Katrina
Yeah, I'll
on
work with
that?
Katrina,
and just so that
but-
we could add that in there, and I think that would
I
be
just
a
thought it
good-
was impressive that he
people
had
to
that,
see.
so.
Is that all right with everyone? Okay, thanks. Thanks back to Jay, too.
475,000, that's kind of interesting just to know what that commercial definition is. I'm assuming that's meaning a storefront or office structure or what have you versus, is there an industrial classification or?
Yeah, there's residential and commercial classifications, and that could be the gamut of retail or.
I was just wondering what average commercial means, what we're thinking, but.
We really need to have Jay come in.
Well, we can't specify all that in this resolution.
Oh, no.
But maybe he can update us at some point. All right. Let's go to Darrell Tuttle, our Director of Finance.
Good morning. I do not have anything new to update at this time. I will say for the next BCP, you should have my usual quarterly reports since the third quarter has just recently ended. I am available for any questions, but don't have anything new to update at this moment.
Deborah?
I do have a question, and I don't know if this should be you, Daryl, or Corsa. Corsa, you mentioned last night that the September sales tax numbers were down $600,000 from last year?
Yes. So that is the first reporting. So usually they do 2 reports. I believe by the end of this week or next week, we'll get a second reporting. That will give us the total September number. So the 600,000 is the first report. So we received 5.2 million in 2024 for the first report in September, and we received 4.6 million for the first report in September this year.
But could that change, Daryl? I mean, when the second report comes out?
When the second one, yes. If there was some sales tax that gets included later in the month of September, it could be included in the second payment. I will say, we're not the only ones to see a dip, but the 600,000 is approximately, I think, 13% reduction from the year prior.
Okay. Thank you.
Mike?
Couple questions.
Who was first?
Shauna was first.
Shauna, then Randy.
I think also this is pretty consistent with the numbers that NISEC provided a few months ago, showing that Tompkins was having the most negative impact as far as sales tax goes in all of the state. I think many of the counties were positive, but our dip was definitely the lowest. So that certainly is concerning. I did have a question, and in regards to the foreclosures, and I think most of the legislature received the notifications of the properties that were listed on the foreclosure sheet. Is that right? Did others receive that in the mail? And
You mean that we just got, or in the past?
I'm sorry?
Or do you mean the one we just got?
Yeah,
Sent to us? Okay.
And there were a lot of places that appear to have not paid their taxes for a while, including, I think, one of the properties, big ones that's in your district now, but it'll be in my district. And they almost have $750,000 in school taxes that they have not paid to ICSD. And I wanted to see what the repercussion of that is, because if our schools aren't getting almost $1 million, that's really concerning.
And do we have to make them whole like we do with the towns and villages?
We do.
We don't, go ahead, Darryl.
I believe we do. I would like to have a chance to verify that. I know we do make the towns whole.
Yeah.
I
Because
believe.
we re-levy the school tax in January if it's not paid. So
Yes,
yeah,
that
we
sounds
have to
correct.
be making them.
I guess I'm just wondering why we're floating these apartment complexes, almost $1 million at the two, and I want our schools to be healthy. And guess I'm fortunate that we float them so that they could pay teachers and provide services. However, I'm super concerned because they can't just keep tallying up the tab and not paying year after year.
There's a limit. Maybe Maurice can tell you better than I.
I think we need to take a deeper dive into this, but just speaking generally, I think it's by operation of state law that the funds are paid by the county to the lower units, including the school district. And unfortunately, then after the foreclosure process, there's not really a way to, you get the money back from the foreclosure process, but, getting it back from the, that's a separate issue. But in any event, that is the answer to that question. The answer to that question is we do, I believe, pursuant to state law.
I think, too, that we start the foreclosure after 2 years on commercial property? And is it, I think, 3 years on residential? That's what as I recall, but I may be wrong. I think you're correct.
That sounds correct. I can verify that to make sure, but it does sound right.
But you see, school districts can't foreclose.
Right.
And neither can villages, and that's why we make them whole, and then we do the foreclosure. The city can foreclose, but we can't. But
the last point I was going to make is the foreclosure is all we get. If there's a shortage, then we eat the shortage.
Well, yeah.
Including we eat the shortage on behalf of the villages and the subunits
Sure.
that we've advanced the money to.
Sure. Did that answer the question?
Maybe
Sure
not
did.
the answer you want.
Definitely not the answer I want.
Well,
Sorry.
I would make a point, too, that that's one of the reasons we have to have a fund balance to be able to cover these things for the period until we get reimbursed after foreclosure proceedings, and we hope to get reimbursed after the foreclosure proceeding.
Right, and we're no longer able to retain the surplus to, sort of make up for the difference on other properties.
Right.
But just for,
Randy had his hand up.
Go ahead, finish, go ahead.
just for a little additional though, if you do get into that bind and you are behind on your taxes and you make them up before foreclosure, you are paying the county and those other entities a significant assessment percentage for being late.
Penalty, yeah.
A significant penalty. And once they're into that 2 or 3 year cycle, it's sometime even harder to pull
I don't
out
think
of it.
they'll ever dig out, not at that level of,
The one you're talking about?
yeah.
Yeah, oftentimes when they get in that deep, they may, we just act as their real estate agent and auction the property off for them.
Yeah.
Like Daryl's predecessor did point out to us, though, we've had a pretty amazing recovery rate, or we start with a large number of places being advertised, and in the end, when it's gotten down to the bottom, it's down to a handful of properties, and that's to the credit of your office working with them to get there. But to get there, they are paying significant penalties, and so the county does realize some income over time.
Randy?
I've got a few questions, but I'd just like to share something that I learned. I met with 2 people that own property on Teganic Boulevard, and somebody just bought all the property from State Street all the way to the boatyard, including the boatyard, to develop it. So, and I know the dollar amounts, and they're huge. It's amazing. So somebody's optimistic somewhere. And it's a local, somebody who's locally related. But what is the lag time between getting sales tax? And my question is to Maureen, is the interest rate that is charged on people not paying taxes, is that fixed by the state?
I think it is.
I'm going to turn to Daryl for that one.
Sorry, Maury, it looked like you were going to answer.
Or if Daryl doesn't know the answer, both of us will have to get back to you on that.
Okay, all right.
I think it is. There are usury rates and other things like that that are out there. Also, one of the things that happened, and I remember it happened to us once, is sometimes these big commercial properties go bankrupt. And we get named in the bank. Our taxes are not automatically paid in bankruptcy. I remember the nursing home up on 96 went bankrupt a lot of years ago, and I think we had to eat a lot of that.
Ooh.
Sean?
I guess my other question, and perhaps a request, is at one point we used to receive the hotels that were in violation of paying their hotel tax to the county. If there's a way that maybe quarterly we could see that, because there were definitely repeat offenders, and at one point we weren't taking much action. It was right after COVID. However, I believe there's currently a hotel that owes us a lot of money, and I'm hoping that we can do something.
Yeah, we recently commenced an action to recover back taxes, interest, and penalties against the Teganic Inn.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a public filing that can be accessed through the county clerk's office if anybody would like to read it.
Okay.
But as far as a list, we have to be very careful because that's confidential unless, as you say, Maury, there's a public filing.
Under the terms of the room tax law, the items that are confidential are the contents of returns. The fact that a particular operator is not in compliance with the law is not confidential, and part of the amendments of the room tax law that this legislature just passed makes that clear, So if, for example, with respect to room tax, we wanted to have a wall of shame or something like that, we could.
That's interesting. That's not the way it was explained to me in the past, so I'm glad to have that update and understand it.
I also feel like if they're collecting our Tompkins County taxes and they're not paying them forward, then I certainly am not against a wall of shame.
Those are trust funds.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah,
I mean,
no,
the
it's true.
federal government treats those as trust funds.
Absolutely right, yeah.
Onondaga County actually referred a number of those for prosecution and took criminal charges against people for non-payment of hotel and occupancy taxes just recently.
I say we shame them. I say we shame them into the ground.
So just to be clear.
Unless they're in my district.
It's always been troublesome to me that they collect this money and then they just use it like operating money
Totally right.
instead of being required to put the money immediately into a trust fund, as Deborah mentioned, where it ought to be. And then so that if that were done, there wouldn't be any problem when the tax return was due. They would write a check out of the trust fund.
Or an escrow account. Yeah,
their escrow accounts.
we all have to do an escrow account for our mortgages. Yeah.
Well, I just think that, I don't know whether, we've talked about this many times over the years, and I don't know whether we can require them to have an escrow and put that into or not. I don't know whether that's possible. I can't remember what the research on that told us, but it certainly ought to be done.
So just to clarify, is your wish to have me include a quarterly report of anyone who is outstanding on the room tax?
That would be wonderful.
Okay. I can start putting that together and start including it. Legislator Brown, I can definitely verify the interest rate on I have an idea of what it is that we do on delinquent properties, but I'd prefer to touch base with my staff before saying that out loud. And I can say that even though the foreclosure process just started and I did sign the documents to go out, we've already had a few that have redeemed. My office does a fantastic job of getting the word out there, and I'm optimistic that, as usual, we'll come through and limit that list at the end.
And you don't have to mail it to me. You can send it to me electronically. Fine.
Will do.
So you said next month, will we have cannabis and casino reports next month too?
Up to the point of the information I have.
Yes.
Theirs doesn't come in as nice and clean quarterly. The casino does a little bit, but the cannabis is periodic and very delayed.
Well, if we could just, at that point, with the other reports, have what we've received to date, for example.
Absolutely.
Thanks. All right, anything else for Darrell? Thank you, Darrell. Go to Ruby Pulliam, our Commissioner of Human Resources.
Good morning, everybody. We're going to try to keep this short and simple this morning. Just want to first of all, I want to thank you all for expediting the approval for us to offer the lower cost health plan. And Mike, I especially appreciate you moving that last member file resolution that was last on the agenda to somewhere closer to 10 o'clock. Thank you for that.
Well, we hope you're feeling better today.
Yeah, I am. We will be moving swiftly. In fact, we are in order to take care of the logistics so that we'll have all the information out for the employees for open enrollment, which is scheduled to begin October 14th. So that's the first one. The second one, as a reminder, I sent an employee picnic expense report and employee survey results to you all in September. I don't expect you all to have gone through it very carefully, but just to highlight a few things. The cost, we were able to bring the cost down just a tad bit, under $9,000 from the 2024 expenses. There is a detailed expense sheet in that report, in that email. That's from September the 16th, if you want to go back and actually look at the detailed report from the food vendors to the miscellaneous expenses. Overall, the attendance, 426, 326 employees, 100 guests that were counted with the clicker. These were the guests that were registered as the +1. But there were several who we were allowed to come with extra guests. They just didn't receive any additional tickets. And as far as consensus from the survey, it's half and half, just about on every question that was asked. Stewart Park versus Treman Park, food vendors versus catering or picnic style, and those comments and that entire survey is in your packet as well. The question was asked, would they be willing to pay for guests? And 69.23% said yes, they would be open to paying for guests. Some suggested $15 or less. And 30.77% said no, the county should continue to pay for employees and guests. The only consensus question that gained consensus that we should do it in September in the fall versus August when it's too hot. So, but all of that information is in that email attached with the attachment, so you can dig deeper if you prefer to. Just overall, what we're thinking of is borrowing something from the cities. The city has their picnic catered. We would put out quotes for someone to cater it. We haven't decided whether, hot dogs, hamburgers, picnic food, or chicken, whatever. But having it catered and getting a quoted price and asking department heads and legislators to help us serve as servers, greeters, that kind, to make it more of an employee picnic. But I think that's the only way, and going back to what it used to be, that we will get these costs down.
I will cook, so.
You'll cook?
Same. The three of us get us the white hats and aprons, and we'll be.
Okay.
We're the
all
Tompkins
remember
County
that.
seal.
Absolutely.
When I come to you next year and say we don't have our volunteers, just remember who volunteered.
I'll volunteer too.
Yeah, it would be fun.
It would be fun. See, I got you. We'll
Thank
do
you.
it.
Thank you for surveying the folks, and I think that's good information for us.
Yeah, and there were some very good questions. So, and we included the comments underneath, so you can make sure you read the comments as well. That was the second thing. Third thing is Samantha is here to give you a report from training and development activities that she has done since joining us in April, and then Larry is going to close us out with the numbers for the month of September.
Okay. Hello. So I'm providing this report as an update to this committee on the progress so far on our training and development program. I won't go through this full report. Everybody should have one here. It's a little binder. I won't go through it all because it probably would take me 30 minutes or more. Yeah, I can talk. But I will go through and let you know how it's all laid out so you know what to expect when you're looking through it. The first page after the title is just a little introduction, and it provides the purpose and my journey as a county employee. The second thing in the report is a copy of my first presentation, which I did here to this committee back in May when I was about a month in. And so that's there for you to reference if you'd like to see where the program started, right? What my big goals were for the year. And so now that I'm about 6 months in, the page after the presentation has a list of key elements of training and development. So this is essentially a summary of what the work looks like right now. And then the next page is showing you that our program is being built really specifically in line with our human resources strategic plan goals. And there were a few big strategic plan goals under organizational excellence that were pretty specific to training and development, so the role that I'm doing. Those were organizational development and learning. So if you reference that in the strategic plan, it's OE for organizational excellence, and it's 02. And then the second one is enhance employee emotional mental health support, which is OE 03. And then the third is build a robust employee engagement program, which is OE 05. And I have put tabs here for each section that will show you what has happened so far under each of these goals. So I'll do a little bit of a summary on what you'll find behind each of the tabs. So in the 02 section, you'll see summaries of the needs assessments that I've done so far, flyers and feedback for things that have happened so already, and then flyers and outlines for programs that are coming up that haven't happened yet, and things that are in the works. I just want to highlight that we announced last month our leadership development pilot, which I'm really excited to share that we have had so much interest in, and we are at full capacity at 24 spots. So really excited for that to launch next week. In section OE03, you'll see pieces of the presentation that Danielle Schwartz from the Department of Emergency Response and I provided to department leaders and union leaders a couple of months ago when this proposal was first put out. And then also a little highlight of how it can happen and what it might look like if it can be supported and approved. And then in section OE05, you'll see write-ups about the County Engagement Committee, which has existed since 2018 from the 2018 Climate Survey. Larry and I have co-facilitated that group together since 2023. And a little bit of insight on what we're working on right now. We're working on putting together a wellness check-in survey for all employees to kind of see where things are wellness-wise, check on the status of burnout, right? Because that's a pretty big topic. And then assess our current wellness programs like EAP. You'll also find the new information about the newly started County Training and Professional Development Resource Group, which was one of my big goals when I first started, was to get together that group and find people in every department, if possible, that have some kind of role in training, right? So they maybe track their training for their department, or they actually provide training in their department or for the county. So you'll find information about that group. And then you'll also see in this section an example of what our professional development and training intranet page looks like. And all employees have access to that. It's a great free resource for everybody. We've got, quick videos for people to watch. There's a leadership section in there that I update quarterly. And there's also wellness information that I share, and a schedule of the what's actually coming up for training. So free trainings that people can access, or if there's a cost, then I've indicated that for departments. And then finally, you'll see copies of all 5 volumes of our new HR newsletter in there, just as a highlight, as that connects to interdepartmental communication. Our next one comes out next week. And if you have any questions for me after you've had some time to really dive deeper into the report and check things out, happy to talk or answer questions. My email is on the second introductory page.
Samantha, that's quite a pamphlet you've given us here.
Yes.
A lot of work, and look forward to spending some time reading it.
Thank you.
Randy.
Yeah, thank you. I like the newsletters, so thank you. It's nice to get them
Good,
electronically. And I do read them. I read every email I get. But I saw, looking through here, the cost of recruitment. It said 48 people resigned.
Yes.
this year, and it cost over $1 million just to recruit people. That's surprised me how expensive it is when you start thinking about the time involved, the people involved. I can see how that could add up quick.
Yes.
So, thanks for that.
Yeah, no problem.
I'd also like to share that Ithaca Area Economic Development has gone through the process of hiring a new executive director, and they brought 2 people here after the long process, and they both declined the job. So now they're back out there doing it again. So that happens to you as well. You go through that whole process, right? And they cited relocation as the reason. So they're starting over.
I'm not sure what we should take from that. I mean, if you apply for a job in another city, you know you're going to relocate. So what's the deal? Is it affordability?
Housing?
Honestly, it happens quite a bit, and Larry can share we've had some stories, but it happens quite a bit. People are used to negotiating in this day and time.
Oh, so they wanted a bigger relocation allowance?
I'm not sure about those specifics, but sometimes that is the case.
Interesting.
I think that position pays a lot more than county work.
I think so.
200.
Wow.
Larry's up next.
Yeah, the relocation thing is something we've heard many times in my 5 years here. People apply, they love the area, it's beautiful. I mean, you can't deny how gorgeous our area is, but when they dive into really start house hunting, we hear that.
Okay. Their taxes.
And I think that's so important to tell candidates when we start the screening interviews that they really ought to look into what the costs are here, because a lot of folks get surprised, and we don't want to lose them because of that and waste our time in the interview process if it's not something they really want.
Yeah, that is definitely part of my outreach to the candidates as we talk about, where to look and what areas to look in and whether they want to live rural or downtown. Yeah, I talk with our candidates about all of those factors. When their timing of they really start looking is really up to them.
Do you get requests for like dummy paychecks that shows all the deductions and things?
No.
Sometimes candidates have asked for that.
You can get that online. ADP has a free service where you can enter the info, enter the locality where you live, and it'll do a mock paycheck for you with the standard withholding.
Like the health insurance and all of that?
Well, you'd have to figure out. You'd have to figure out on your own. But that's also, it's easy enough to look up.
But, if you're living in Kentucky, you don't have as many deductions as you have, or as extensive deductions as we have in New York.
Very true. All right, so we'll get to some numbers. I'm sure you all are excited about hearing more numbers. But these are good ones. These ones are about our staffing, right? So we have 813 county staff. There was 322 election workers off and on through the month of September, and 118 of the youth employment. So as of September 30th, a snapshot of that was 931 folks on our payroll. Recruitment, so there's 56 positions posted on our vacancy page. 19 of those are county titles and 37 are for our municipal partners. Of course, I already brought up that we do have a new highway director, Nick, so we have closed that one out. Target and outreach, targeted emails, all the online postings, community outreach. We were able to participate in the airport days. Samantha and I tabled there. Love to do that kind of stuff. So anything that I can do where I'm out in the public, don't be afraid to reach out to me. Applications, we had 288 applications come through. 121 of those were for county spots and 167 for municipalities. We only posted 2 civil service exams in the month of September, but we processed over 243 applications for those. 3 tests were given, and 89 people were tested in September, which is a pretty good number. We onboarded 13 new staff, and they elected for 4 of them for the dental and vision, 9 took advantage of our health insurance, 1 for the flex spending, 10 of them took advantage of the basic life AD&D, which people really light up that we have that now, and 5 for the voluntary benefits that we offer. 12 of the 13 elected for the retirement or were mandated depending on where they were coming from. And as far as leaves, we had 35 disability leaves. We have 11 people for the cancer screening, 10 for bereavement, and 3 lucky people got to do jury duty in September. All right. And as far as staff trainings, I'm going to let our staff trainer take over.
So last month we had a couple of things happening. So we did a pilot with Todd Baker from Empowerment Ergonomics. He came and did a pilot session of his Ergonomics 101, and he did that for HR and admin. We had about 7 people participating in that. The goal with that is to open that up county-wide after our pilot happened. And then I did my first MBTI or Myers-Briggs type indicator workshop, and I did that for HR. And so there were 12 people, and that will be included in our leadership development pilot and will be open to departments, so I can come in and provide that information. We also announced a couple things that are happening this month, which I mentioned the leadership development pilot. And then I partnered with Don Thorpe who is our health and safety coordinator through admin. We partnered, and there are Narcan administration and Sharp safety training sessions happening this month. The first one is actually today. There's one happening tomorrow and a couple next week, which still have openings. But those are happening, and STAP, the Southern Tier AIDS program, is providing those.
That concludes our report. Are there any questions?
I just say, Larry, you mentioned that the health insurance or the life insurance thing is very good. I just want to give credit to Shauna. She's the one that advocated for that, and I think it was a good thing. And also, I'll drop you a little bit of into my memory. Seems to me when I came on the legislature in '94 that our employee count was 622. So if you think about it, over 30 years, we have increased less than 90, or about 90 rather. But it seems like every year we keep adding and adding, so I would have thought it was a greater amount, but I'm glad it hasn't been, but I think that's where we were. Randy.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. I know in our budget process, of course, in your proposal, we were reducing 12 employees or 13 employees, I think, in the budget process. I think we added at least that many back in. It'd be nice to see a summary of every department. I know it's in the online book, but I'd have to go through each department to figure that out. Just a summary of each department, how many were reductions and how many increases, to see the total number of actual county employees. And I realize Board of Elections is completely different because you have a lot of different things going on there. But it'd be nice to see a summary of that and to see where we actually ended up. Because that's how our budgets continue to grow at large amounts.
You're requesting employee count by department, just
Yes.
for the budget, through this budget process, or overall?
Just what it's going to look like based after this budget is voted on. Just to see where we're starting in 2026 is my thoughts.
Sorry. Okay. I just wanted to make a correction. I said we'd added 90 since I came on. It's 190.
Yeah, I think we can provide you with that information.
No hurry.
Yes, the FTEs are usually not the person. So even though we're saying the 12 reduction, there may not be 12 individuals, maybe way less than that because of some part-time positions or some positions that have expired and things like that. So we'll be able to provide you the details.
Yeah, and that
By
was
FTE is fine.
that wasn't, so the one that I think everyone's referencing here was an FTE based on an actual UKG count, which is a little different than budget. So budget and actual are different. We can very easily give you the budget count from last year to this year, no problem at all. The UKG count is a little different because it's a snapshot in time. So when we grab that snapshot, that was at that point in time, when we look at this point in time in 2024 to this point in time in 2025, that's the reduction. So it's a little, not trying to make it complicated, but it's a little bit. But I'll give you the budget, definitely give you the budget numbers, no problem.
Yeah, I'm just looking at budget.
Yep.
Veronica, then Deborah.
A few things. On that note, I would also be, if we're getting employee numbers, I'd also be curious to see the numbers of actual humans, not just FTEs, because that's all, both, I know what you mean. Both things are interesting. I think we have at least one dog, so we can count him too. I don't think he gets paid.
We don't pay our dog. We have a therapy dog in the legal department.
I didn't know that.
Athena.
There's, okay, the jail has a dog, I know at least that. I am distracted. Larry, do you have, thank you for all the numbers. Do you keep track of how many county positions are vacant overall? You said there are currently 19 titles posted, and I don't know if that counts only once when it's a title where we're hiring maybe multiple people.
Yeah, so there's 19 titles,
yeah,
right? Which could be, some of them are continuous recruitment titles, so that could be not even a position open at that time, but it's a quick list to grab from if somebody has one. Those are usually like the entry-level information aid positions.
Okay, vacancies. We're having, we're working through that. It's difficult to tell true vacancies versus things that are just vacant right now. So with the UKG system, but HR and Thomas, they're working out a report so that we can find out, are these actually true vacancies? Are they positions that were open at one time but not funded this year? Are they positions that have been authorized for funding? So there's some discrepancies in the numbers there. But we think we have something ironed out. We're just waiting to see if it actually works.
Well, I'm excited. Thank you. Yeah.
We're really trying to get a true position control report. And we haven't been able to do that since I've been here.
Deborah.
Yeah, I want to circle back to something that Corsa brought up about the grants at TCAT. I want to point out this thing that you handed out. On Tuesday, we had a special board meeting. We addressed 3, 6, and 7. So those will be completed.
Did everyone get that form? Or just the two of us?
Sorry, I gave it to you so that after the meeting, I sit down with you and then we come out with a plan to address it. So,
yeah, I just want the committee to understand too, that the majority of the grants that you're concerned with were from 2024.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Deborah. Can you briefly say what this page is? Because I have no idea.
There was a list of the grants that were of concern. But the key point here is that according to the folks at TCAT, older grants need to be closed out within 2 years, but the 2023 and 2024 grants do not. So there's some failure of communication here that I think we need to address.
Yes, that's the reason why I shared that list with you that I got, so that we will sit together and address it. And we'll provide the committee with the details of the conversation, how we move forward.
Yeah, it's not as bad as it initially sounded, is what I'm trying to say.
That reminds me of, Lee, I'll get you, but are we hearing any feedback since the county and the city both said they'd be willing to go with 500,000? Are any feedback from Cornell yet?
They want a meeting.
Well, so that's something. They're going to talk. Okay. Thanks. Lee? No, he's passing. Veronica?
Just also going back, Larry, at some point, if you can share more about the stories of why like job offers fall through and people don't relocate here. Not like individual stories, but overall takeaways, that would be great. It doesn't have to be now.
Sure, do that.
Thanks. And Samantha, I guess no questions, but thank you for this report. So I didn't get to say, and you all for investing in our employees. This is super exciting. I'm curious to hear if there are trends in people's Myers-Briggs type indicators, but I think that's just because I'm curious.
Okay, we've got some resolutions. I want to do B, C, and D, and then come back to A, because I think that's going to take longer. Does someone want to move the resolution, contingent fund appropriation, replacement pay and terminal pay reimbursement in the Sheriff's Office? Randy, then Veronica. Discussion on this.
God, this costs a lot.
Yeah, they do.
Wow.
Veronica?
If I'm remembering correctly, at public safety, the sheriff, or maybe it was the undersheriff who was there, said that they usually do the terminal pays every X amount of time, but for some reason they didn't do it last time, so this is like 2 of X amount of time. I can't remember what it is, but it's like covering twice as much time as these resolutions usually do, which is part of the explanation.
Yeah, but you know, I in a way that helps us focus on how much this actually does cost. But that's a good point. Thank you, Veronica.
At some point many years ago, the legislature, probably was the Board of Reps back then, decided that these termination things would come out of the general contingency rather than requiring the departments to budget for them. That's probably a good thing because it's hard to tell exactly what it's going to be. All right, ready to vote? All those in favor? Any opposed? That's unanimous. Resolution C, contingent fund appropriation, emergency medical service, EMS evaluation, county administration. Someone want to move that? Veronica moves it, Shauna seconds it. Discussion about that. 50,000. Those in favor? Any opposed? That's unanimous. And D is contingent fund appropriation, forensic pathologist for grand jury and trial proceedings, district attorney. Someone want to move that one? Veronica, and seconded by Randy. Any discussion on that one? All in favor? Any opposed? That's unanimous. All right, let's go back to A. Now, last night we did hear a request from the chair of HED that they want to talk about this as well. So we'll probably also be going to that committee. I'll just point that out. We ask for a resolution to be brought forward about a 1% increase in the hotel room tax. We've had some public opinion about that. Randy, I know you were the one that has advocated for this quite a bit. Do you want to start the discussion?
Yes, thank you. you know, when I look at but I'm a glass is half full type of person, and I think that, you know, Ithaca, this area could see a lot more tourism, and it needs to be, and it affects the airport, it affects everything. And I just think this is a smart way to bring these funds in, where they go to the airport or whatever, I don't know, but we continue to fund the airport. We're gonna have to continue to fund the airport or do something different. Maybe we can sell it, lease it back. But I think this is a good option.
Donna?
I think it's a good option as well. However, Peggy coming in and sharing the information, sharing the data, I actually do think that was really compelling. And the fact that our hotels, our tourism is absolutely sinking right now. I am sympathetic to that. So I think it's important that this not just be a conversation for this committee. I think it should be a conversation for our full legislature. So if it needs the votes to bring it out of committee, I will do that. I will not support it in the full legislature. So that's where I'm at.
Deborah?
I'm against this. I think I appreciate that we're looking for increased revenues, but I think we need to remember that these revenues are limited in what we can use them for. What we're supposed to be using them for is promoting tourism. And raising this tax would seem to me to actually hurt our tourism industry based on what Peggy has told us. I think the numbers she cited are alarming. I won't vote for this in committee, and I won't vote for it in the full legislature.
I would say that I would vote for this only if the understanding was that this was to be used for the airport. I think that it would make some sense to do that, particularly since after the discussions we've had in the EBC about the airport. I think the airport is one of our tourism drivers. I think that the statistics that the Chamber told us about today are not due to cost as much as what's happening nationally with the tariffs. And that's what's tanking the Canadian tourism. And we're reading articles in the paper about that, and that's hurting us a lot because we're close to Ontario, and they're recommending that they stay there in Canada and look at their own leaves rather than to come to us. The maple leaves, yes. And so I think it should be. I agree. It should be a discussion of the whole legislature and whatever committees want to talk about it. But I'd like to see us move it on and see what people have to say. Go ahead, Veronica. I want to mention, and I haven't mentioned, that Ann Corman has joined us on the Zoom.
I also would love to hear more discussion about this at the full legislature, I guess at HED. I hear what Peggy was saying about how this is going to harm tourism, which I don't dispute. I think Mike is right about how that drastic reductions are due to drastic federal changes. Yeah, I wouldn't want to come here either if I were a Canadian in Canada. But a thing that I keep thinking back to is in the middle of our strategic planning process, we, at some point partway through, we had a legislator retreat where we got to talk about and priorities and do some work. And at that time, this was well before the plan was done, but what we had was a whole bunch of survey feedback and like public, maybe there were focus groups. I don't know. There's a lot of like input on what the county's priorities should be. And one of the things they showed us was a list of various topics like tourism, culture, health, transportation, environment, I don't know what all these things. It was like, what do you think is going well and strong in the county? And they were ordered by an amalgamation of people's feedback. And then there was another slide, same list of things, but it was like, what is, I don't know if it was what is not going well, like what does the county really need to work on? And on the first, the what is going well, tourism topped the list, or it was either one or two, and housing bottomed it out, unsurprisingly. And on what do we need to work on, housing topped the list, and tourism, and I think arts bottomed it out. I think not that people don't care, but I think, and my impression was that people thought, this is going well. Now, of course, just because something is going well doesn't mean we abandon it, but like, I don't think that, I'm not interested in, preserving tourism robustness at all costs if it is at the expense of other things. That's not quite what's on the table here. I guess we're suggesting increasing the hotel room occupancy tax rate a little more in order to have more money to fund also tourism or specifically the airport. But someone pointed out to me that as long as if we were to change the tax law, as long as we're changing the law, we could, in theory, change what the extra 1% is used for. And so I don't have a proposal right now, but I'm looking at this and thinking about funding the airport and the difference in tax rates, but also about what else could we fund with this? Could we put this into, could we somehow raise this extra revenue and use it to make our housing market not so, like, a little less terrible? Could we use it to address the homelessness crisis, which it maybe doesn't deter tourists from outside of the area? It apparently deters people from coming downtown from rural Tompkins County sometimes. So I don't know. These are my thoughts as we continue to consider this. And in the spirit of considering, I'll definitely vote for it to move out of this committee.
Taylor properly reminds me that I need a motion in a second. Randy and Veronica. Thank you, Taylor. And I also want to turn to Nick Helmholt, who's on Zoom, who actually wrote this memo that we had last time and discussed with us about it, and just ask Nick, is there anything that you'd like to add or talk to us about?
Thanks, Mike. I don't have anything outside of what was in the memo particularly to add. I think one of the items that was a follow-up from the last meeting was to look at competitive destinations. So I pulled what the list was we looked at for our last visitor profile study, and a list that Visit Ithaca monitors with some data, and just ran through those to see where Ithaca and Tompkins County compare, walk through the methodology in the memo so you can kind of see how that works. Yeah, I mean, happy to answer questions folks have about this topic, that to the best of my ability.
Okay, any other comments? Lee?
I had to step out for a second. Just one question. Does the 2026 budget presume the use of any of this at this point?
No.
It's all prospective then? Okay.
Got to go through state approval.
and it would require local approval, just to be clear. Both the state enabling law would have to be amended and the local law would have to be amended. One thing to note is that many other county room tax laws have what's called a sunset provision in them, which we understand is something that DTF typically adds into new laws so that they require reauthorization at some frequency, typically around 3 years.
Thanks, Nick.
A number of years ago, I looked up in my law book about the law that authorizes this, and every county has a different section, and every county has a different use of its room tax, and it's quite interesting to read all of them. It really is. I think recently one was a couple years ago. They were going to use it to pay their sheriff's department because they have to have sheriffs on duty for various festivals and events.
We had a special one in there for Tompkins for 911 surcharge for years. I don't know if that's still there at $1 or not.
I'm not sure. Might be nice if we could have a copy of that section of the law that we could all look at when this goes to the full legislature.
I'm happy to provide that.
Thank you.
Yeah. And there's some interesting stuff in the bill jacket too, so I'll include that in the package.
Randy?
I was watching CNN. I actually like CNN. And they had President Trump and the Prime Minister of Canada had apparently struck some type of deal, and they were yucking it up and slapping each other in the back. And so
watch out.
Let's see what happens.
That used to be my rule of thumb when the Democrats and Republicans were in Congress were hugging each other. Hang on to your wallet. Deborah.
Well, I got nothing.
Oh, I thought you had your hand up. Okay. Ready to vote? All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4. And those against? 2. So that it goes ahead. Thank you, folks. Are there any committee member reports? Guess not. Well, it's 10 minutes off, so we've made it within our 2 hours. I don't see any reason we can't adjourn. Thank you.